I knew something was off the second Danielle started showing up to my floor like she suddenly gave a damn about thermodynamics. She's pure. Her job is literally to smile and misuse the word synergy at luncheons. And yet there she was, heels echoing through the lab, lipstick too perfect for someone who claimed to be just swinging by for a vibe check. Bullshit. She was sniffing around. I'd been building that prototype in silence for a year and a half, modular grid storage, scalable for everything from a smart home to a stadium. I kept it off our internal servers, stored my work on encrypted local backups, even paid out of pocket for an NDA-certified patent advisor. Not because I didn't trust the company, but because I do trust them to screw me the second someone flashier can take the credit. Like Danielle. Like my sister. God, it stings to even say that word now. Sister. We used to be close. Back before she learned how to smile while sharpening knives. Back when she still asked me to help with her math homework instead of pretending my breakthroughs were the result of a shared family brainstorm. She calls it collaboration. I call it theft with lipstick. First time she asked what I was working on, I brushed her off. Power systems stuff. Boring. She grinned. Come on, I won't understand it anyway. Just give me the big shiny version so I can brag at brunch. That's Danielle speak for pitch it to a boardroom in heels. I should have shut her down harder. But somewhere in the leftover family guilt zone of my brain, I thought maybe, just maybe, she actually cared. She brought coffee the next day. 2 oat milk lattes. Mine had that awful sugar-free vanilla she knew I hated. Oops, she chirped. Guess I forgot. Classic Danielle. Sabotage disguised as sweetness. If you've ever had someone close to you gut you with a smile, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm in our team that you're with us. And if you want more of these true, twisted stories, tap subscribe. Over 97% of people watch without clicking. Be the one who does. We really appreciate it. Anyway, that afternoon she lingered too long near my desk. Commented on the cool little hexagon thingies I was modeling. That's when my stomach dropped. No one outside the engineering team knew about the modular stack design. It wasn't in any public deck. It wasn't in our shared folders. It was in my locked version sandbox, and she just named the core structure like it was casual trivia. I asked how she knew. She laughed. You always forget your screen's visible from the break room, dummy. Except I don't. I always lock it. Always. Unless someone watched me type the password during one of her friendly drop-ins. Unless someone planned to do exactly that. That night I checked my local access logs. VPN spike. File view timestamp outside of my login window. Folder flagged for sync. Someone had copied everything. Schematic trees. Licensing drafts. Even my dumb little animation of the coils assembling in real time. Every last bit of it. Gone. I didn't sleep that night. Just stared at the dark ceiling, replaying every moment I'd second-guessed her intentions, every instance I'd laughed off the suspicion because family. Because blood is thicker than IP theft, right? Wrong. This is the story of how she stole everything I built. And how I got it all back. Danielle strolled into the company mixer like she was late for a coronation. Leather blazer, champagne in hand, fake surprised eyes like, oh, this thing? Just threw it on. I was already halfway through my first bourbon, tucked into a corner with the rest of the unphotogenic departments, when I heard her voice slicing through the room like a polished scalpel. Oh my God, you guys, no, I'm not the genius, I'm just lucky to be part of the brainstorm. My brother's so modest. We've been workshopping this new energy concept, and I finally convinced him to let me shape it into something market-ready. Collaborative magic, right? Laughter. Clinks. A few execs nodding like they just discovered the secret to fire. I didn't move. Not even a twitch. Just locked eyes with the ice in my glass while my jaw tried not to shatter. Collaborative magic. That was the story now? She stole it, and somehow I was going to be the humble sidekick in my own origin tale? I slipped out early, faking a migraine. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't. When I got home, I didn't bother changing. Just sat down at my terminal, input the vault credentials, and started scrolling. There it was. Access log modified. Folder opened. Files. Mirrored to an external workspace I didn't recognize. The copy was clean. No comments, no edits. She hadn't even bothered to reformat anything. Just Ctrl+CD my last 18 months and pasted them into her fantasy career ladder. She hadn't seen the patent drafts, though. Those were offline. Air-gapped and saved to a drive only one other person in the world had touched. Harold Rives, my father's old patent lawyer. Retired. Old school. Wrote NDAs like biblical commandments. Danielle had signed one back in 2022 when I looped her in back when I still thought looping her in was a good idea. I dug it out. Section 4.2. Disclosure or usage of proprietary designs without written consent constitutes material breach, nullifying co-ownership claims. Her signature sat at the bottom like a pre-dug grave. And now she was out there, running her mouth, flashing those straight white teeth at anyone who'd listen, weaving this narrative where she was the muse and I was the obliging lab goblin scribbling in the dark. I didn't confront her. What would be the point? She'd spin it, gaslight it, twist it into some story where I was paranoid, controlling, insecure. You're overreacting, she'd say. Maybe if you were better at communicating. No. She'd made her move. Mine would be quieter. Sharper. First, I backed up everything, triplicate redundancies across physical drives and encrypted cloud vaults. Then I called Harold. He didn't even say hello. Just answered with, "She did it, didn't she?" I nodded into the silence. He sighed. "We go by the book then. Let her build the rope. She's already bragging. Even better." I leaned back in my chair as the call ended, staring at the screen, Danielle's name still lingering in the file access logs. You know what betrayal smells like? It's not blood or sweat or gunpowder. It's vanilla oat milk and recycled applause. It's the stench of someone thinking they're smarter than the paper trail. Fine. Let her think that. Let her bask. 6 weeks before Danielle ever touched my vault, before she even knew what I was working on, I'd already made my move. That's the part that still makes me smile. She thought she was playing chess, but I was the one who set the board. It started with a letter. A real one. On paper. Sent to Harold Rives, sealed with wax like something out of a legal Hogwarts. Inside was the core schematic of my design, time-stamped, annotated, and paired with a provisional patent application. Unsigned but ready. I didn't want to rush. I wanted it done right. Harold called me 2 days later. "You're finally filing?" he asked. "You sure you want it clean? No company entanglements?" "No, I did this on company time, loopholes they can wriggle through later. I've been doing all the heavy lifting on nights and weekends," I said. "No one's seen the files. I'm off-grid. And I've got the NDA from Danielle." He chuckled. "Your dad would be proud. You built something. Now let's make sure no one can touch it." The LLC we used wasn't in my name. It was wrapped inside a family trust Dad set up before he passed, back when he still believed legacy was something you protected, not something you posted about. Harold dusted it off, tied the IP rights directly to the trust, and filed the patent through a firm so discreet they made the IRS look like gossip columnists. We didn't stop there. Harold had contacts, one in particular. A strategic investor named Malcolm Wynn. Wynn Capital was known for snatching up clean patents in energy tech before the big fish even knew they existed. He didn't care about founders. He cared about exclusivity, licensing, control. And money. Lots of it. I met Malcolm once. Sharp suit. Sharper eyes. He asked 2 questions after reviewing the prototype. "Is it yours and can it scale?" I nodded. Yes to both. He didn't smile, but he tapped the table twice and said, "We'll take it." The licensing deal wasn't flashy. No press, no champagne. Just clean wire transfers, a royalty agreement, and a clause that gave the trust veto power over sublicensing. Harold grinned like a proud uncle as I signed. "Congratulations," he said. "You now own something they can't take, even if they try." And then I went back to work. Business as usual. Same lab, same badge, same coffee mug with the chipped handle and the sarcastic sticker that said "Not today, thermodynamics." Which brings us to last Tuesday. Danielle barged into the R&D floor wearing a blazer so white it practically creaked. She acted like she didn't see me. Stood 10 feet from my desk, whispering to our CTO Brendan like the whole room wasn't echoing. I didn't turn around, but I heard everything. Words like revolutionary vertical integration, licensing potential, and, my personal favorite, inspired by internal collaboration. She even handed him a glossy pitch deck. Color-coded. Buzzword optimized. With a name. The Danielle device. I almost laughed out loud. Brendan flipped through the slides, nodding slowly, but his eyebrows pinched. "You filed the patent already?" Working on it, she said breezily. Almost done. We've got internal protections anyway. It's all in the family. In the family. That line was supposed to shield her. Instead, it buried her. I turned back to my monitor, finished running the latest load simulation, and saved the output to a folder Danielle would never find. Control wasn't just reclaimed, it was sealed, notarized, and already earning interest. Let her talk. Let her pitch. Let her build the gallows with her own PowerPoint. By the end of the week, the buzz had metastasized. Brendan dropped her name in the Thursday all hands, casually plugging an exciting new IP initiative led by Danielle in marketing that could position us as industry leaders in adaptive energy systems. Danielle. In marketing. Leading IP. I stared at the screen while he said it, watching the little emoji reactions pop up on the Zoom bar. Claps, hearts, fire emojis. Not a single one for me, but why would there be? My name wasn't even in the footnotes. And that's exactly how I needed it. For now. By Friday morning, the comms team had started workshopping headlines for an upcoming PR push. I got CC'd by accident. At least that's what I let them believe. The Danielle device. Scalable power for a sustainable future. They even mocked up product packaging. Bright greens, smiling kids, a fake quote from Danielle about redefining how communities store power. She doesn't even know what a capacitor is, let alone how to optimize one across temperature ranges. It got worse. I started getting emails from corporate strategy, veiled little things like, "We're exploring integration possibilities and would love your insight," or, "Given your proximity to early-stage R&D, you'd be a valuable resource as we define rollout logistics." Valuable resource. Like a damn plug-in. I answered every message politely, helpfully. I offered availability, threw out a few technical terms just obscure enough to make them feel smart for Googling. I even said, "Happy to advise if Danielle wants a second set of eyes on any claim she's planning to include in the final brief." Translation. I dare her to attach numbers she doesn't understand. It was like walking a tightrope in a room full of blindfolded jugglers. One misstep, one flash of ego, and they'd see the crack in the story. I couldn't risk that. Not yet. My face stayed neutral. My tone breezy. Let them think I was just the good soldier. The kind of background player they'd forget the second the real credits rolled. Then came the first slip. Barely a hiccup, but I caught it. Legal pinged Danielle, politely of course, requesting her to provide full documentation on the device's development timeline. For internal record-keeping and potential compliance preparation, given projected exposure, the email read. Danielle forwarded it to herself, then deleted the original thread. But she didn't answer it. No devlog. No timestamps. No repository trail. Because she had none. The origin files she pulled from my vault were stripped of their context. She could maybe fake a few dates, scribble some pseudocode if she Googled hard enough, but the bones? The real meat of the work? It wasn't hers and she knew it. Still, she kept smiling. Kept giving little shoulder squeezes in the hallway, winking at execs like this whole thing was a foregone conclusion. She even sent a calendar invite to the innovation team for a pre-rollout brainstorm session, with the working title, Phase 1 Danielle's Grid. I RSVP'd yes. Of course I did. Let her believe I was on her side. Let her mistake my silence for loyalty. Because that's the problem with people like Danielle. They think spotlight is power. They forget who built the damn stage. My mother's 62nd birthday was supposed to be low-key. Backyard dinner, overcooked steaks, cheap wine, and forced small talk between relatives who barely liked each other. I was working on my second glass of Cabernet when Danielle walked in late, all click-clack confidence and designer desperation, wearing heels no one asked for and a smile so bright it could have melted the citronella candles. She made her rounds like a politician at a fundraiser, hugging people she hadn't called in months, dropping fake humility like dollar bills at a dive bar. I knew it was coming before she opened her mouth. Danielle can't breathe around success without choking on the urge to monologue. "Guess what?" she said loud enough to turn heads. "I'm gonna be on a patent." She dragged the word out like it had silk edges. "Huge global rollout. Asia's already sniffing around. I'm fielding licensing offers and I haven't even finished the damn pitch." Her eyes scanned the room to make sure no one had missed it. "Danielle device," she added, sipping rose. "That's what they're calling it internally. My aunt gasped like she was watching a Hallmark movie. Someone clapped. I just smiled. Said nothing. Not even when Danielle winked at me across the grill like we shared some inside joke. Like I was the little nerd she let tag along for the ride. She had no clue I'd already sold licensing rights to a group with enough legal teeth to eat through steel. No idea she was bragging about standing on a minefield. I left early under the excuse of needing to prep for a sprint review. Truth was, I needed to see how far she'd overreached. Back home, I logged into our shared company workspace, nothing restricted, just the general collab folders that marketing and strategy use for non-confidential brainstorms. Danielle, of course, had uploaded a draft presentation titled Internal Pitch V6 Final Feedbacks. Because of course she did. I opened it. Page 2 hit like a punch. My schematic, barely altered, still had the same coil ratios and even the placeholder labels I'd used months ago. Page 3 was worse. A product mock-up, with the company's logo next to the words, Danielle Device. The future of modular storage. She'd written a fake origin story, citing personal exploration of cross-functional energy trends during her time in comms, as the foundation for the idea. Not a word about me. Not a nod to R&D. Not a whiff of reality. She wasn't just lying. She was trying to cement it. She thought that by repeating the story often enough, by putting it in a pretty deck with slick font choices and corporate logos, she could make it true. And that's where she screwed up. I didn't rage. I didn't yell. I didn't text her a single word. I just downloaded the PDF version of the deck, metadata included, and attached it to an email addressed to the legal team at Summit IP Trust. Subject line: Material misrepresentation of registered IP. Immediate attention required. I didn't even write a body. The deck spoke for itself. I hit send, leaned back in my chair, and took a long sip of cold coffee. Danielle had finally done it. Put her name in writing, tied it to stolen work, and slapped a corporate brand on it. The mistake wasn't bragging. The mistake was documenting the lie. And now it was on file. The licensing deal closed on a Thursday. Champagne was popped in the executive suite. Someone from PR leaked a teaser to the press, just a headline. Nothing binding. Green Nova eyes industry disruption with modular energy breakthrough. Danielle floated through the office that day like a damn Macy's parade balloon, basking in applause that didn't belong to her. Even Brendan, our CTO, clinked glasses with her. Proud of you, he said. Proud of her. I sat through it all in silence, playing my part, smiling faintly, nodding at the right moments, typing fake notes into an empty spreadsheet just to avoid eye contact. I knew what was coming. That's the thing about a trap, it works best when they walk in on their own. Friday morning, the email hit at 8:12 a.m. From Summit IP Trust Counsel to Green Nova's general inbox, CC to legal, finance, and you guessed it, Brendan. The subject line was simple. Cease and desist unauthorized use of protected intellectual property. I watched it spread like wildfire. The silence before the explosion. Then the scramble. Meetings moved. Calls canceled. Danielle disappeared from her glass cubicle. Legal buzzed like a kicked hornet's nest. By noon, the press teaser was pulled. By 1 p.m., I was summoned to a conference room with optional attendance, which everyone knew meant get in here before things collapse. I showed up with a neutral expression and a pen I didn't need. Danielle was already inside. Pale. Sweating. Her usual performative cool replaced by visible panic. Legal sat across from her with a printed copy of the C&D and a highlighted paragraph from the U.S. Patent Office's automated response to her filing. Rejected due to existing claim filed 6 weeks prior under trust-held ownership, the lead counsel read aloud. Filed via third-party representative. Legally binding. She blinked fast. There's got to be a mistake. I submitted first. We were still. She looked at me then, her voice cracking. You told me you hadn't filed yet. I shrugged. I never said that. Did you file it? She asked, eyes wide, mascara starting to flake. I smiled without teeth. No, I didn't. The lawyer interjected. Ownership is not tied to Danielle or any internal Green Nova contributor. The patent is held by Summit IP Trust. Do you have any proof of original development? Danielle fumbled. It was a family idea, okay? We were just talking through things, brainstorming. Do you have any written documentation? Any designs that predate the submission? the lawyer pressed. She shook her head. Silence swallowed the room. Then her voice barely above a whisper. Could you talk to them? Please. Just explain. Tell them we were working on it together. That it was a team effort. Maybe they'll drop it. I turned toward her slowly, hands folded on the table. You should read Section 4.2 of the NDA you signed in 2022, I said, quiet and final. She blinked. What? It defines misuse of proprietary material. Ownership, authorization, disclosure. You agreed to all of it. Signed it before you ever saw a single schematic. I leaned back. You didn't just steal an idea. You violated a contract. The one you laughed about while sipping your oat milk latte. Danielle didn't reply. Her mouth opened once, then closed. Legal thanked me for my time. I left the room without another word. In the hallway, Brendan stopped me. You knew this was coming. I met his eyes. I knew she wasn't ready for the fallout. Then I walked away. Let them deal with the debris. Let her sit in that silence she used to fill with buzzwords and champagne. She wanted her name on something. Now she had it on the rejection notice. The boardroom was glass-walled and cold as hell, the kind of space designed to make power feel clinical. 10 chairs filled with men in quarter zips and women in aggressive blazers sat waiting for a miracle, or an explanation. I was neither. I was the consequence. The invite hadn't come through Danielle. It came from the board chair himself after legal confirmed that the true patent holder was willing to provide clarity. I was told to keep it concise, professional, non-adversarial. Sure. No problem. I wore black. Simple suit, pressed white shirt, no tie. I walked in alone. No entourage, no hype, just a flash drive in one hand and my other in my pocket. Every head turned like a weather vane in a storm. Brendan's jaw went slack. One of the investors sat forward like he'd spotted a ghost. Danielle? She froze. Pale, twitching, eyes fixed on me like I'd just risen from the grave she tried to bury me in. You? She whispered, the word more breath than voice. I didn't answer her. Just nodded once to the chair and took the floor. Plugged in my drive. The screen lit up with a simple title slide. Summit IP Trust License Patent. M-Stack Modular Energy Storage Unit. Lead inventor is C. My initials. Not hers. The first slide was the patent timeline. The real one. Submission date, trust ownership, licensing terms. All verifiable. All clean. Harold made sure of that. I showed the design progression. From scribbles on a whiteboard to a fully modeled proof of concept. Internal timestamps. Independent validation. Then a side-by-side comparison of my original files and the plagiarized pitch deck Danielle had submitted. Highlighted in red were the dozen elements she had copied verbatim, including my mislabeled placeholder file named HexStupid5, that she hadn't even bothered to rename. There was no voice raised. No accusations screamed. Just data. Sequence. Provenance. Truth. I finished with a final slide. Legal status. Patent held and protected under full rights. Use without consent constitutes infringement. Trust open to continued partnership. Pending formal apology and contract correction. No one spoke for a beat too long. Then Brendan cleared his throat. You never said anything. I wasn't asked, I said simply. Danielle tried. She really did. I could see the gears trying to spin back to life. The PR smile flickered. The charm muscles twitched. Wait, so you filed through the trust? You had this planned. I looked her dead in the eye. I had this protected. One of the board members leaned toward her. Did you know this had already been submitted? She stammered. He never told me, he kept it secret. I thought. You thought you could sell a lie, I said, still calm. You thought the people clapping were smarter than the paper trail. Silence again. Then the chair of the board turned to me. What's your ask? No public credit, I replied. Just the original royalty terms. Keep the rollout. Keep the team. Just cut the fraud out of the process. Danielle looked like her lungs were collapsing. She opened her mouth, maybe to beg, maybe to spin, but nothing came out. I turned to leave, nodding once toward the screen still glowing behind me. On it, my name sat quietly in the corner. Small print. Permanent. I didn't need a spotlight. She'd already choked on it. By Monday morning, Danielle's office badge was deactivated. The internal memo called it indefinite leave pending review of contractual discrepancies. Clean. Clinical. Just like the boardroom she used to strut through in 5-inch heels, pitching stolen futures with someone else's blueprints behind her teeth. She didn't even get to clear her desk herself. Security boxed her things, carefully, respectfully, and dropped them off at reception like they were returning a defective product. Her name was stripped from the rollout roadmap. The Danielle device rebranded overnight. They called it M-Stack now, short for modular stackable storage. Unsexy. Unmarketed. But real. And legally protected. I watched the press release go live from my kitchen, barefoot and drinking burnt coffee out of a chipped mug. The headline didn't mention her. Didn't mention me either. Just the tech, the trust, and a clean path forward. That was the deal. The board signed with Summit IP Trust officially. The licensing was retrofitted, sanitized, rescoped. Brendan reached out once, short email, full of polite phrases like, "Thank you for your transparency," and "We're grateful for your discretion." He didn't ask questions. He didn't apologize. The only call that mattered came from Malcolm Wynn, the investor behind the trust. "We'd like to offer you a seat," he said. "Innovation Committee. Advisory capacity. Quiet if you want it." It was tempting. The old me, the one who used to believe in team brainstorms and lab coat collaboration, might have jumped at the title. Might have let them wrap a lanyard around my neck and pretend the last 6 months were just a misunderstanding. But I wasn't that version anymore. I told Malcolm thanks but no. "Then let's update your royalty structure," he said. "I want you incentivized, not distracted." He didn't wait for approval. A revised contract hit my inbox that evening. Higher percentage. Faster disbursement. Still wrapped in NDAs that made my lawyer whistle when she read them. And that was enough. No press. No keynote. No champagne toast on LinkedIn. Just me, alone in my apartment, watching the lie unravel from the inside out while the truth quietly collected compound interest. I didn't need credit. I just wanted ownership. And now I had it. Danielle was back in the building, but not as an employee. Technically, she was clearing personal items under supervision. They scheduled it for 4:30 p.m. on a Friday, when the office was quiet and the cleaning crew was already wiping down whiteboards. I didn't plan to walk past her, but life's got a taste for timing. I turned the corner by the R&D bullpen just as she was sliding her last desk drawer shut. Her hands moved slow, robotic, like each click of plastic against wood was a personal betrayal. The framed photo of us as kids, back when we still shared crayons instead of secrets, was already face down in the box. The photo didn't lie. We looked like allies back then. Pre-patent. Pre-spotlight. Pre-dagger in the back. She didn't see me at first. Her head was bent, staring at a single sheet of paper laid flat on her old keyboard. Company memo. Unfolded. No wrinkles. Like someone had pressed it just for her. I didn't need to see it to know what it said. Product rollout. Authorized. IP holder. Summit IP Trust. Lead inventor is C. She was mouthing something silently, maybe reading it over and over, maybe trying to rewrite it with her eyes. Then she looked up. Our eyes met, and her mouth opened like it wanted to form an apology, or a lie, or both wrapped in something breathy and sad. For a second, she wasn't Danielle the PR darling, the brand-building narcissist, the girl with champagne ambition and a paper spine. She was just the little sister who finally realized the applause had stopped. I kept walking. 3 steps past her, she whispered my name. I stopped. Not for long. Just long enough to turn my head slightly, offer her a look that wasn't cruel or smug or angry. Just done. "Next time you steal something," I said, calm and quiet, "make sure it's not already mine." She didn't follow me. Didn't reply. Just stood there frozen, surrounded by the echoes of a story she didn't write. Outside, the sun had already started to sink, throwing gold streaks across the glass. Voiceover? She chased the spotlight. I built the switch that turned it off.